Hello there, good morning. You're welcome to Newsroom on GHOne TV. I am Serwaa Amihere. Let's begin with our top stories. And coming up in the next hour, Speaker of Parliament calls for a third political force, and that sparks debate among the public with varied opinions. We are live with a political scientist shortly. Also coming up, Pandai Member of Parliament Matthew Nyindam breaks silence after botched rerun of the 2024 Pandai parliamentary elections and says he would have won with ease. Former Defence Minister Dominic Nitiwu calls on government to issue travel advisory to Ghanaian traders plying their trade in the sub-region. And later on the international front, over 1,000 Kenyans enlisted to fight in Russia-Ukraine war. We have details of these and many more coming up shortly. Do stay. This is Newsroom on GHOne TV. I am Serwaa Amihere. The news is streaming live on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube. Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagwin is calling for the emergence of a credible third political force in Ghana, saying expanded political competition would strengthen democracy and foster national unity. Speaking at a political inclusion forum in Accra, the Speaker noted that although Ghana's Fourth Republic has recorded notable democratic gains, the political space has largely been dominated by two major political parties. He argued that the rise of a strong third force would broaden participation, energize policy debate, and enhance accountability within the country's governance framework.
I learned this in 1992 when NDC had their first Congress, and that was at Cape Coast. I was then practicing in Accra here. And the variety, the number of people who met from all over the country really blended us together. The MPP invited me to some of their congresses. I attended, and the same was repeated there. So the other parties. But now, we seem to have two only strong, vibrant, surviving parties. For me, I think we need a third force. In fact, we're expecting to see representatives of more political parties than we have. And it means we have to do a lot more work to reach out to them.
Let's have a conversation on the back of this. Joining me on phone is Professor Samuel Edu-Gyamfi. He's a political scientist. Mr. Edu-Gyamfi, thank you very much for your time. I mean, this isn't the first time we're having the conversation about having a third force. What will it take for us to get one?
Thanks very much, and thanks for having me, my sister. The relevant push may produce that, but it will also come about if we are able to have some ruptures within the two strong parties, the MPP and the NDC. Because except for that, we are still going to have them retain power, but the third force would be a theoretical construct, but more so, if they are there, they should be able to make that strong contribution in terms of challenging government policy decisions and government steps, and also having the opportunity to continuously engage the public space to present viable alternatives. What we have seen is that we have pockets, smaller parties, whose ideas filter through the lenses of the MPP and the NDC, and they do not even sometimes come out as the original ideas of these smaller parties. So, first of all, we should contemplate or think about and internal ruptures taking place within the MPP and the NDC. And that in itself allowing for a certain third force that is tired, if you like, of what is happening within these two parties, how they are contributing to the national development and building on the national cake. So in terms of thinking about some form of national revolution or some form of chaos against government, you'd rather look at disgruntled youth or actors within the party who are interested in something more or giving more to society and are willing to step out or break away. And said break away is in a quest to build the state and not necessarily to disrupt their own internal party mechanism. If we don't get that, we don't see how the third force is likely going to come about.
Okay, but Mr. Dujemfi, it's one thing telling us what it takes to have a third force, but as a country, are we really ready? Because we've seen some political parties come up strongly. Maybe not to the level of the NDC and the NPP, but as a people, do we appear ready for a third force?
I think that the third force have always been the discerning masses who make the determination as to which government should come from time to time within the 8 years. We have called them, if you like, the floating voters. We have given them different names, discerning voters. We have even called them the actual or real kingmakers because they are silent, but they are those individuals who vote based on issues. So the third force is there, but they are not there as a mobilized political party or political front. It is because of the ebullience, if you like, of both the NPP and the NDC. So Ghanaians are already ready for a third force because that third force is a silent force which has not crystallized into a political party. But when there are these ruptures within the NPP and the NDC, then that third force, that silent third force, can rally around them to bring that formidable change Ghanaians are looking for, and even a true test to our democracy going forward. Hello? Hello?
We apologize for that disruption. This is Newsroom on GHOne Television. If you just joined us, we've been talking about the Speaker of Parliament's call for a formidable third force in our political system. Let's cross over to social media and hear what you have to say on this. Mrs. Akwa is standing by with all the juice, as they call it. Mrs. Akwa?
Thank you, Serwaa. Well, Ghana may be ready as a country, but are Ghanaians ready for voting for a third force? We have Trilly, who says that's not his responsibility. The citizenry itself with time would realize how useless the two major political parties are. You can't belong to one side and suggest this. Right message, but from a wrong person. Yahaya says or asks, why now? We also have Kofi saying he agrees with him. Then we have Della Rave. Cheddar, Kennedy and Allen can do something. Jojo says it's good. Then we also have Albert Nyama. When you see your party NDC failing, you come up with different ideas. And we have Abdul. He should resign and form the third force. Well, we try to go out on the streets to hear from people, but unfortunately, people want to remain faceless when it comes to this conversation. So continue to send us your messages on Instagram, on Facebook, and on X. My name is Nanama Akwa. Serwaa, back over to you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Akwa, for bringing us those details. You're still watching Newsroom here on GH1 television. To other stories, the chairperson of the African Union Advisory Board Against Corruption, Edem Senanu, has hailed the rejection of the petitions for the removal of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Madame Jean Mensah, and her 2 deputies, as well as the special prosecutor, Hisie Jabin. On Wednesday, a letter from the presidency said the Chief Justice, Justice Paul Bafuboni, dismissed petitions after finding no merit in the allegations brought against them. Speaking on GH1 TV earlier, the anti-corruption campaigner said the frequent filing of removal of petitions against heads of independent institutions does not serve good governance and undermines Ghana's democratic practice as it distracts officials from their core responsibilities.
I still think we need to do some work looking at the threshold of evidence or information that triggers these processes. Otherwise, it will be repeated again in the future. So I don't know whether he will see it as a battle won. For some of us in the good governance space, our concern has been that the heads of these institutions are likely to spend a lot of their time just trying to fend off all these distractions. What it means is that they cannot focus because there's one accusation or another against them, which will prevent them from being very effective at the tasks assigned to them. So I'm quite sure he'll be also relieved that, okay, somebody else has, a neutral, objective entity has seen that this does not have merit. But the likelihood that these kinds of accusations will continue may not necessarily make him feel comfortable. Well, in general, I mean, I think many of us were concerned about the trajectory we seem to be taking. Previously, it was the EC, the previous EC, then it became the Chief Justice, and then it was more EC, OSP. That does not augur well for the good governance in the country. And so it's good that we don't seem to have suddenly upheavals in all these key independent institutions of state. And that is why we are saying there will be the need to review the threshold of evidence that leads to triggering these processes. Otherwise, you're going to continuously have situations where anybody can come up with any form of allegation, and then the officers, so-called, may then need to now sit down, begin to come up with defense, get lawyers. That does not work too well for all of us.
Let's have a conversation on this. Paula Brampa-Mensah is a programs manager and team lead for the security sector, local and urban governance for the CDD. Thank you so much, Mr. Brampa, for your time. What do you make of this?
Good morning. Yes, I'm happy constitutional democracy has won. Because I've observed and monitored the media space, and it's like sections of the NDC supporters are not happy. But I beg to differ. In any circumstances, when you look at the 2 institutions that were at stake, they have a constitutionally protected tenure, which has a specified process through which they could be sacked from their office. And that process was followed. And the major point in the process is that when a petition comes, the president will have to set up a committee to look into the import of the petition. If it's so found that there's some merit in the petition, then the process continues. If the president's committee finds out that there's no merit in it, the announcement tells us that they've been exonerated of all issues. So I think democracy has won.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. Paula Brampa-Mensah is a programs manager for for the security sector for CDD Ghana. Member of Parliament for the Pandai constituency, Matthew Nyindam, has stated that if granted the chance to rerun the election, he would secure victory again with ease. Speaking earlier with me on GH Today, he emphasized that he remains the preferred choice of the Pandai people, stressing that a strong grassroots credibility and close connection with the constituents set him apart.
I won the Pandai seat. The verdict of the Pandai people was that Matthew has been elected, and thank God today I still represent the good people of Pandai. That's all my joy is all about. It's not about that technicalities. Yes, like I said, if it's one-on-one elections, I'm not afraid of that candidate. He's beaten me in 2020 before. I have come back to also beat him in 2024 again. And I'm sure that if it was just a playing ground for us to go into that election, I would have still beaten him, because my records are far better than his records. And everything about me, the people of Panda accepts me more than him.
Right.
So I would have beaten him in any case. But if it is about a rerun is a different election. It's a complete different elections, and anything at all could have come. And that's why his hopes were so high. The people were pushing so hard, because they know very well that it's going to be like a different election altogether, and they could change the verdict of the people. But like I said, thank God today, my God has spoken through the judges, and I'm very, very grateful to them.
Reacting to this on GH Today, NDC's Member of Parliament for the Bungo constituency, Charles Bawadua, said the Chief Justice's decision not to uphold the petition shows that President John Dramani Mahama did not appoint him to act in the interest of the NDC.
The manner the victory came dilutes its significance. And that's because the victory did not deal with the substantive issue of whether or not he actually won at the police station, the various police stations, or the allegations against him at the police stations were not true. The victory was one of a technical victory, to the effect that the processes had been filed out of time and all that. And I think that, I know that in law, some of these regulations are made for good reason, but sometimes we may have to do away with some of this technicality in order to do what I will say substantive justice. Now, the people of Kwanda cannot now say specifically so whether or not my colleague won at the police station or he was saved by the technicalities of the case. And that is disturbing, but all the same, like I said, I will congratulate him on his victory at this.
The Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, has announced plans to introduce a digital registry system aimed at streamlining the registration process for churches and providing accurate nationwide data on them. Speaking on the floor of Parliament, the minister said more than 2,000 churches were registered in the Greater Accra region as of 2025, while thousands more are believed to be operating across the country without formal registration. He noted that the ministry will work with the Registrar General's Department, the Office of the Attorney General and the Ministry of Justice to audit records of churches registered as companies limited by guarantee.
To ensure the provision of accurate data on churches in the near future, the ministry will establish the following. 1. A formal collaboration with the Registrar General Department and the Office of the Attorney General and the Ministry of Justice to create a data sharing agreement with the Registrar General Department for accessing records of churches registered as companies limited by guarantee. Within the local governance structure, the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies will maintain local registers of churches operating within their jurisdictional areas. And finally, we will consider the development of a digital registry system that will serve as a centralized platform for churches to update their operational status. This system will be linked to the Registrar General Department system for verification.
Let's engage a representative of a religious group to get their view on how the new system could impact religious organizations, the compliance requirements, and the broader relationship between faith-based institutions and the state. Apostle Emmanuel Ni Okule Tete is the General Secretary of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. Apostle, thank you very much for your time. How do you and your organization, your institution, how did you receive this news?
Yeah, thank you very much also. And let me say a good morning to your viewers and yourself. Yes, I think it is quite refreshing what the local government minister and the chieftaincy and religious affairs, what he said. We in the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council are in full agreement of, keeping records of churches in terms of they being registered and being recognized appropriately within the country Ghana. And so we are for the digital registration or address system, as the minister indicated.
But why do you think, Apostle, that many churches are operating without formal registration? What's the reasoning behind that?
I think it goes all the way into provisions in our national constitution. You see, the national constitution, which is the foremost, if you like, legal document for the country, provides for freedom of association, which includes religious association. And so, as it is now, anybody can get up today and announce himself as an evangelist, as a pastor, as a bishop, whichever. And it doesn't matter whether he has 10 members or 2,000 members or 3 people, provided, he says it's a church. And so if we are going to make any serious progress on this, we believe that the constitution review process under Professor H. Prempe, and we submitted some proposals to that effect. We were part of a meeting of faith-based groups when the process was being worked on. And so we have also presented some recommendations. And I think it is in light of that we expect the constitution review may capture provisions that will allow for people who want to run churches or who want to be known as pastors. They have to go through a certain process with identified ecumenical councils, so that ecumenical councils will commend, or if you like, recommend, that this pastor or this person is identified with this recognized ecumenical council. And based on that, your registration with the state can also be approved. It is a system for self-regulation first, so that there will be some sanity in our system.
Calling and supporting regulation of, the ministry of God? Is that what it is?
No, I'm talking about self-regulation.
Okay.
You see, we have to regulate ourselves, not the state regulating us.
Right.
But the provisions in the Constitution must enable that process. And so we are not saying that it is the state which will identify or qualify me to be an apostle. No. But my church, which is the Apostolic Church Ghana, where I belong to, where I fellowship, my church must belong to a recognizable ecumenical council.
Okay. What are some of the advantages? What are some of the advantages of being part of this, or self-regulating, as you call it? And what are the disadvantages, very quickly?
Okay, so I think by way of advantages, you notice that because it's a free-for-all now, you have very uncontrolled, unregulated system where ministers supposedly, as in people who identify as clergymen, can get up and announce anything, say they are making a prophecy, God has spoken to them. They have members, they decide what they want to do with the members, and nobody can call them to order because the Constitution provides for freedom of association, religious association. And so one advantage is that it will sanitize the religious space, not in terms of controlling who should be a pastor or what should be preached, but in terms of doctrinal presentations. We will be clear where ministers belong and what they are doing. And if any minister is going wayward, contrary to what is acceptable, the Ministers' Ecumenical Council can call them to order. And if they don't call them to order, then the government or the state can hold that Ecumenical Council also to task, not even directly the minister. So the Ecumenical Councils will be the system by which individual churches and ministers, self-regulate within their respective ecumenical councils.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. Apostle Emmanuel Niokule-Tete is the General Secretary of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. A tragic motor accident occurred early Thursday morning at Zonda, a suburb of Budumburam, on the Kaswa-Winneba Highway, claiming the lives of 2 individuals. The victims are an unidentified market woman and a motor rider believed to be in his early 30s. According to eyewitnesses, the woman, thought to be in her late 30s, was carrying fish in a basket and attempted to cross the road to join a car to the market when she was hit, by the speeding motorbike. The impact was fatal and she died instantly. The motor rider, who was heading towards Liberia camp from Fetek Kakraba, also met his untimely death. Eyewitnesses attribute the crash to the motor rider's excessive speed and use of the inner lane, which is currently under construction. The Ewutu-Breku police have taken the bodies to the St. Gregory Hospital and have begun investigations.
The motorbike was unregistered and speeding. The road is still under construction. The woman was crossing and there was not enough time for the motor rider to stop.
Definitely she will cross.
The woman was going to the market and the accident happened. It's been about an hour and there is no sign of emergency services, so their bodies are still lying dead in the road.
We heard a loud sound and got out to check. The rider had hit the woman and both are dead.
They should be banned. There have been 3 accidents on this road due to speeding motorbikes.
Okada riders are killing us. They should be totally banned in the country.
It was a mother's worst nightmare as her 4-day-old baby vanished from a hospital ward. But an atmosphere of relief, laced with tears and applause, filled the Mamprobi Polyclinic after the stolen baby was safely reunited with his parents. The suspect remains in custody at the Dansiman police station, assisting with ongoing investigations. My colleague Evelyn Arba Edu was at the Mamprobi Polyclinic when the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Namomulate, assured the public that measures will be put in place to prevent a recurrence.
This was the scene at exactly 10:30 a.m. on Wednesday, February 18, when our news team arrived at the Mamprobi Polyclinic. Chaotic, emotional, tightly secured. A baby boy born on Saturday, February 14, Valentine's Day, and allegedly stolen shortly after birth, had finally been returned to his family. What had begun as a moment of joy for Mohammed Ajiman and his wife quickly spiraled into every parent's worst nightmare. Police were immediately called to the facility as the search for the missing newborn intensified. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection also intervened. Speaking to our news team, the baby's father recounted his ordeal, describing long hours filled with fear, confusion and disbelief as the family waited for answers.
Since the thing happened, right, I haven't even brushed my teeth that my brother came and picked me up. We were here since morning. Then die. Oban pontimin da oda meso sa menene kasa o ontun be hunu minyam meso no de adosuro ana ontun bo ase ani nsa nyama nyama no won beti ano paye me da fiti information information 3 am say woman no obi nimu no aboso kan sa na oye ne nyama. But
even with their baby back in their arms, he says the trauma remains, especially for his wife, who delivered through a cesarean section, and she's still emotionally shaking.
Now the unse obenya emi ba share few born and share traumatized no say membeli kakra what I said.
Police say the suspect was arrested shortly after investigations began and remains in custody, assisting with further inquiries. The gender minister visited the facility, confirming the baby had been found and officially returned to the mother. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Agnes Namomolati, assured the public that a thorough investigation will be conducted and that decisive action will be taken to help rid the country of baby thefts.
The Ghana Police Service has directed health facilities across the country to tighten security following a baby theft at the Bamprobi Polyclinic in Accra. Latifa Salifu, the prime suspect, is in police custody, facing questions over the crime.
The suspect is currently in police custody whilst arrangements are underway to place the baby under hospital care for safekeeping, further investigations and medical attention. We expect that for hospitals and health facilities, we enforce strict identification protocols for staff and for visitors, ensure babies are released only after proper verification, install and monitor CCTV in maternity wards and other.
Media personality and founder of Women of Valor, Nana Banamwa, is calling for a halt to actions that level blame on victims of abuse. Speaking at the launch of Women of Valor 2026, she condemned a section of the media for what she describes as shaming victims instead of exposing perpetrators. Her comments follow reports of a Russian national accused of secretly filming Ghanaian women and sharing the videos on social media and adult websites for profit. Nana Banamwa emphasized that the way such stories are framed in Ghana's media landscape often protects offenders while deepening the trauma of the victims.
The 2026 edition of Women of Valor was officially launched at the residence of the British High Commissioner to Ghana, with strong calls for action against gender-based violence. Media personality and founder of Women of Valor, Nana Abba Anamwa, urged the media to be more responsible in reporting cases of abuse, cautioning against storytelling that downplays the crime itself.
We must confront one uncomfortable truth, that in our media landscape, sometimes, the way our stories are told tends to shame the victims instead of exposing the crime. The words we use, the tone we take, the questions we ask, even the way stories are introduced on our major bulletins is problematic because it quietly shifts blame onto the person who has suffered harm. When victims feel judged, when victims feel exposed, they cower, they withdraw, they fail to speak. And when women stop speaking, predators walk free. And that has to change.
Deputy Chief of Staff Nana Oye Bampo Ado also called on activists
institutions, and stakeholders to work together to create safer spaces for women and girls, stressing the need for collective responsibility in protecting their rights and aspirations.
Imagine a world where media stories do not only provoke outrage for 3 or 4 days, but they inspire a very lasting change. We must move from this fragmented advocacy and coordinated action to coordinated action that results in transparency, that results in support for vulnerable women, vulnerable children. I invite all of us, media, activists, policymakers, partners, let's renew our collective responsibility to build a safe space to protect the dreams of our girls, to protect the dreams of our women.
Speaking to GHOne News, Executive Director of the ACT Foundation, Dr. Angela Dwamena-Boakye, urged government to move beyond policy declarations and implement practical, community-based interventions to support abused women and girls across districts and regions.
Ghana is trying, but there's a lot more that we can do. One of our issues is being able to coordinate our services so that people can enter a system and be tracked through the service. Okay, so for example, in Accra, we have one-stop center. They try to provide a coordinated service. But what about the districts? What about the regions? What's going to happen to people who get violated? And we haven't been able to model very good models that have happened in the past. Okay, I think it's important for the government to step up on looking at the models that have happened at community levels and adopt those models.
Simply known as Women of Valor, it is aimed at recognizing and highlighting women with unique stories of courage as the world marks the annual International Women's Day in March. The 2026 edition is scheduled to take place in London on March 7, 2026 at the London Hilton on Park Lane on the theme, The Pursuit of Fearlessness.
It's now time to bring you the latest in the world of business.
The Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
President John Dramani Mahama has signed the 24-hour Economy Authority Bill into law, giving legal effect to one of the government's flagship strategies for economic transformation. The president assented to the bill at the presidency in the presence of the cabinet and members of the team that worked on the legislation. Speaking after signing the bill, President Mahama said Ghanaians have been waiting for the legislation, which will now help the government to move from strategy to implementation.
It's taking a while, but we needed to go patiently through the process to give legal effect to it. And so from now, we must move from strategy to implementation. The business sector is waiting, Ghanaian investors are waiting, foreign investors are waiting. They want to see the package of incentives that we afford them so that they can invest more and expand productivity and also create more employment for our young people. And so it's my pleasure to assent to this bill today. Thank you. And let me congratulate the team that has been working on it, our comrade Guzitando and his team. We're very grateful. Thank you very much.
Former Minister for Defense under the erstwhile New Patriotic Party's administration, Dominic Nitiwul, is impressing upon the John Dramani Mahama-led government to issue a travel advisory to Ghanaian traders traveling to neighboring countries in West Africa as a matter of necessity. His call stems from the recent terrorist attack on Ghanaian tomato traders in northern Burkina Faso, resulting in the loss of 8 lives and leaving many injured. He noted that the volatile environment of some of these countries makes it imperative to restrict travels to safeguard the lives of Ghanaian citizens.
I think that
it was avoidable. I also think that the traders should pay heed to government. If the government says don't go to northern Burkina, don't go. They should pay heed to government. If the government says that, if they give you what we call advisory, travel advisory notes that don't go to northern Burkina, don't go. Because if you do, you won't come back, just like what has happened. So I say that if the government comes out to advise us on where not to go, on where to go, especially in northern Togo, in Niger and Burkina, they should come out with where do you think Ghanaians can go and where they shouldn't go. Calling on the Minister of Foreign Affairs to do that immediately. Tell us where Ghanaian citizens can go in Burkina, where they cannot go. And if they cannot go there and they need to go there, what sort of security measures are you putting in place so that they can be able to go there? Because life must move on.
Joining us for a conversation is the National President of the Peasant Farmers Association, Awal Adowepia. Mr. Wepia, thank you very much for your time. What do you make of this call?
Yeah, thank you so much. As farmers in Ghana, we will expect that where the situation has reached, government begins to look at how we can produce our own vegetables at home, which will be very crucial to us. We have outlined in our statement that the irrigation for wealth policy, very laudable, that was launched by the Agric Minister last year, should immediately begin. Irrigation dams has to be constructed, rehabilitated, particularly the Kwalugu multipurpose dam. Ghana has the climate, we have the soil, we have the farmers, we have everything that it takes for us to become self-sufficient when it comes to tomato production. So this is what government has to look at, and as stakeholders, we are ever ready to assist and sit down with government to look at the way forward. The most important thing in this matter is that we should be able to produce our own tomatoes within the country, and Ghana could ultimately even become a net exporter of tomatoes in the sub-region.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. Awal Adowepia is the National President of the Peasant Farmers Association. 3S Technologies has launched GHOne Nova, a human resource management software designed to simplify and automate HR operations for small and medium-sized enterprises. Speaking to GH1 News at the launch, the company said the platform is built to reduce the workload of HR managers and make operations more efficient.
GHOne Nova, which also saw the unveiling of its brand ambassador, Chief Executive Officer of 3S Technologies, Jemima Edichumwa-Crine, encouraged SMEs to sign onto the platform and experience structured HR systems usually enjoyed by large companies, regardless of their size.
We realized there were lots of SMEs in Ghana here, even in Accra alone, that have no experience with human resource management. And some of the reasons included the cost and the fact that, oh, we are a small company, we don't need it. But we know what structure can do, and the earlier you have it, the better it is when you're scaling up. So we decided to commercialize what we are using. That meant that it has to go through robust development, intense security considerations and all. And 1 year, 2 years down the line, GHOne Nova is what it is today.
On her part, brand ambassador for GHOne Nova, Serwaa Amihere Esquire, described the initiative as timely and impactful, hence her decision to become the face of the brand.
Once you're a business that works with human beings, it just makes everything so easier for you, from salary inputs to leave inputs, everything that has got to do with your human resource, GHOne Nova provides that solution for you. It resonates with me because I do a lot of things with people. I have a business as well with my sister. We work with a lot of people, so I'm happy to have explored it. I've seen how it works. It's amazing. It's fantastic. And I employ, everyone to get onto the the software is good.
The company noted that the Humanova is hosted on one of the world's safest cloud systems, Amazon Web Services, assuring potential customers of the security and protection of their data while using the platform.
The Bank of Ghana says further structural reforms are needed to keep the banking sector resilient as the economy stabilizes. Speaking after a post-MPC meeting, the Bank of Ghana Governor Johnson Isiema noted that although the industry remains profitable, lending levels are still modest. He urged stronger credit discipline, income diversification, and improved cyber resilience as Parliament passes the Bank of Ghana Amendment Act 2025 to strengthen the bank's independence and accountability.
Given the increasing sophistication and frequency of cyber threats, colleagues, any gaps in visibility may lead to delayed detection and heightened systemic vulnerability, underscoring the importance of ongoing vigilance and coordinated efforts across the sector. Structural strengthening is not limited to balance sheets and cyber resilience. It also requires institutional and market discipline. Parliament has recently passed the Bank of Ghana Amendment Act 2025, reinforcing the bank's operational independence while strengthening transparency and accountability. This reform enhances policy credibility and strengthens the institutional foundation within which monetary policy and supervision are conducted. In addition, the Virtual Asset Service Providers Act has now been enacted, establishing a formal regulatory perimeter for digital asset activities in Ghana. The next phase is operationalization, and we are working on the regulatory frameworks, the supervisory processes, and coordination mechanisms necessary to bring this act fully into effect in a structured and orderly manner. Banks are not observers when it comes to this space. Virtual assets will interact through the banking system through settlement accounts, custody arrangements, compliance infrastructure, and payment channels.
And that's it for business. Coming up is the latest in the world of sports with Mrs. Bakari.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Many thanks for joining me here on Sports Brief. I am Monica Bukari. Ghana international Andre Dede Ayew has made it clear that retirement is not on his radar anytime soon. The experienced forward says his body is responding positively to the demands of the game, insisting that each match only makes him stronger, fitter, and better, rather than slowing him down.
Feel good, played a lot of years, and touch wood, I've been fit for several years and been able to play games upon games. I live my life day to day, so I prepare myself every time to have a better tomorrow on the field, off the field. I don't think about that. I think when the moment comes, your body will tell you. That's how I see it. And for now, my body is not responding negatively at all. So I need to continue working. The matches will get me fitter, will make me feel better. And that's all I'm thinking about. But no, I never thought about stopping, because the 6 months I didn't play was not football reasons. It was personal reasons that I had to deal with and sort and before, so I could clear my mind and come back and be on top of my game mentally, physically. But I was working, so I'm quite happy, and this is the start of something new, and I hope we end it well.
Now, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta said his team have only themselves to blame after surrendering a 2-goal lead to draw 2-2 with rock-bottom Wolves in Millinots, adding that all criticisms of his side was fair after the capitulation. The Gunners are now only 5 points ahead of Manchester City, having played a game more and have now won just 2 of their last 7 league games. Let's take a listen to Mikel Arteta.
Extremely disappointed, obviously, with the result, with the way the game ended. But we have to blame ourselves. I think the performance in the second half didn't show anything close to the standards that are required in this league to win, and with the margins that I think should have existed today, especially in the manner that we played the first half. So it's a moment of disappointment. We all want to talk a lot about how we're feeling. It's not the moment to do that, because anything that we do has to be always and only with the intention to help the team. And right now I think we have to swallow that frustration.